Becca. I design a label called Chromat. Thank you guys so much for coming to see me speak. I feel really honored to be here. The TomTom has been a really well-oiled machine on the back end, so thank you guys for all the help. So here I am. I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia. I went to the University of Virginia for architecture school. And following that, I did lots of architecture jobs. I actually worked at Martin Horn for a summer after graduating. I poured concrete foundations. And that was one of my favorite jobs. I really love construction. I did another summer framing houses in Windhurst, Lynchburg, if you guys know where that is. I framed some houses. So that's where I came from. And this is what I do now. When I'm at a bar and people are like, what do you do? I just kind of say, I do architectural swimwear. And then if they want to go in, I'll let them. But if they're like, cool, okay, and I'm going to get this drink, and thank you. So that's where I began. I went to architecture school here, and that's really what spawned my interest in scaffolding. I became obsessed. I really liked the threshold between indoor and outdoor space and this kind of frame. And with what we do with Chromat, I kind of think of it as structural experiments for the human body and scaffolding for the body, and thinking about the body as site. So we've started with the cages, like you see there, and then in the years since, it's been 5 years that I've run Chromat. Since then, we've expanded that structural foundation into swimwear, lingerie. We do footwear. Maybe you've seen Chromat before, hopefully, if you're a fan of Beyonce like I am. These are a few amazing, strong, powerful women that have worn Chromat, and it's a huge honor to see our inspiration coming back to us for pieces, so that's been cool. I will say working with celebrities is crazy, probably as crazy as working with Panthers. Oh my God, holy shit. So Beyonce, I haven't had that experience exactly, but with celebrities, it's always like, we need things overnight to LA. We're performing at the VMAs on Sunday, and we need this now. And it's always right before New York Fashion Week, and we always have to drop everything, call friends, favors, everyone floods the studio. We're cutting, pinning, and sewing and shipping within like a 24-hour time span. So MTV told the truth. So that's a little bit of what we do. Maybe you picked up the latest Playboy. I'm not judging. Azalea Banks was wearing Chromat. Oh, I think is this the actual? Yeah, this is actually the sample she wore. That's the same one. And if you're a K-pop fan, there's some Chromat. One of my favorite singers right now, Twigs, wore Chromat recently. It was so funny. My mom was in New York recently visiting. My parents take any opportunity they can to come visit, and they're here now, so thank you for coming. Yeah. So we were, I can't remember, I think it was after Fashion Week last time, we were just like in a magazine shop, I love magazines, flipping through, looking at like what's new, and this just popped up. It was I never know like what's gonna happen with press. It's always a surprise, because honestly, we get requests all the time like, oh, can we borrow some pieces for this photo shoot? And like 9 times out of 10, I don't know if you've seen like behind the scenes stuff, but there's racks of clothes, and like they make last minute decisions, and you never know if it's actually gonna show up in print. And so I had no idea they even borrowed the clothes for the shoot, and then I saw that, and there's Cosmo with Rita Ora. So where did this all begin? I definitely didn't plan to live in New York City. I never even considered fashion design. I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia. Like, there are no fashion designers in Lynchburg, Virginia. There really aren't. And so for me, growing up, I kind of thought of fashion as like buying clothes and like being pretty and like just buying stuff, because I don't know, if you're not involved in the industry, you kind of think of fashion as magazines, every new season, buying stuff, trends. That's sort of what fashion was to me as a teenager. But it took me years to figure out that inside the fashion industry, there's actually people that are interested in craft and making and silhouettes and materials, and they're more like artists, and they're more like architects, and they're just thinking of new ways to think about materials on the body. So anyway, I think I just got sidetracked. But it all began, this is my favorite building, the Pompidou in Paris, and I was exposed to this at UVA, the architecture school. You know, this was in one of our theory classes. And so I guess I'll just start there and just kind of explain my founding story and how I started Chromat, and then I'll tell you about some challenges and growth we've experienced and what we're doing next and what we hope for the future of fashion. So after college, after I graduated, I did a summer at Martin Horn, pouring concrete. Then I moved to Portland, Oregon to work for architects. I did that, and I really wanted to travel and do new things, but I don't know, I just wasn't sure how to do that, so I joined the Peace Corps. I signed up and then got placed in El Salvador, and that was really fun for me. I wanted to do something cool like AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, like Habitat for Humanity. That was sort of the things that the architecture school inspired me to do, like giving back and doing architecture for people and how it can affect their lives. So I joined the Peace Corps. I moved to El Salvador, and it was awesome. I was doing municipal development work, which means I don't know if anyone's been in the is there anybody here? They kind of just like throw you down in a country and give you 2 months of training and then like see you in 2 years. So it didn't happen like that for me though. I got bit by a mosquito with dengue fever. So I ended up in the hospital for 2 months in El Salvador. My Spanish was muy malo. It was terrible. And so, I don't know, there's like 4 different strains of dengue, so if you get bit again and again, your organs start hemorrhaging and things can happen badly. So they medically evacuated me, and at that point in my life, I was like, I have no plan. This is not part of my plan. I ended up on my parents' couch, and so I was in Lynchburg again, a place I thought I'd never come back to after I graduated high school. So I was there, and I was like, well, I don't know, what do I do? Should I move to LA or something? Maybe I can get better at my Spanish, I don't know. Maybe I'll rejoin the Peace Corps. And I ended up getting really interested in how Lynchburg had changed, even in the 4 years where I was at college. And so I was like, wow, the downtown's really cool. Why did I never go downtown when I was in high school? And so I started thinking or getting involved in who was doing all the downtown redevelopment in Lynchburg. And I met Tom Martin, who's the planner in Lynchburg, and they were looking for someone on staff, so I got hired at the City of Lynchburg Planning Department. So, yeah, there's some people from City of Lynchburg, my old coworkers are here, and they can vouch for me. That's a true story. So I was in Lynchburg working at City Hall for 3 years. It was totally not planned. I had no plan, but I was really interested in downtown redevelopment and how urbanism can influence new growth in cities. And so I was doing that, and then just for fun, because when you work in a kind of, I can't speak for everyone that works for City Hall, but my experience was 5 p.m., done. Doesn't matter if there's a deadline, it's just a different type of working schedule. It's everyone has families, so at 5 p.m. they go home. And I was single, living in Lynchburg, and 23, and I was like, it's 5 p.m., what do I do now? So I had a ton of time on my hands to explore and just think of new things that I wanted to do. So I started just buying clothes at Goodwill and getting fabric from Joann Fabrics and just cutting it up and playing with it. I had learned how to sew when I was a student at UVA. I worked as a seamstress in the drama department. It was a costume design class I took freshman year and then just got hired. So I knew how to sew, and I obviously knew about architecture stuff. And then I was just sort of doing these fun things after work, and just it was really just a hobby. And to me, fashion and architecture are very related in the process. You start by looking at the site and looking at the context lines. You investigate materials, then you sort of build relationships between that site and things around it. And for me, it's you're looking at the body, you're looking at joints, you're looking at structures and places where you can do interventions and change. So I was just looking at the thing I love about fashion and why it was so interesting as a hobby is because the scale is so small. You can design, cut, sew a dress in 2 hours, whereas with architecture and with urbanism, it's 2 years, 2 decades with urbanism. So that really appealed to me. It was really fun to just go home, fun, do some weird projects. And then after a while, I was I want to do this kind of in a serious way. I want to actually make a collection. And so I was a fashion blogger. I followed what seasons were, so I knew a little bit about that. And there was people downtown Lynchburg doing cool stuff at the time. My friends had just opened a boutique called Folk, which is now owned by Bittersweet in Charlottesville, so it's still around, and that's cool. So I just went up to them and was like, do you want to do a fashion show in Lynchburg? And so we were like, yeah, sure. So we got our friends, just friend models, We had some people I saw earlier today at a luncheon, like they were our first fashion photographers. They just like brought their cameras. We had a friend DJ. It was very DIY, like abandoned warehouse status. And so I'm going to show you the first ever collection I built for Chromat, and it's going to be very embarrassing for me. So just so you know, that was like 2008. But and I didn't go to fashion school. I had no idea what I was doing. But basically, my inspiration for that collection, the first one I ever did, was thinking about indigenous Lynchburg and examining this like redneck culture that is so pervasive there, and like what materials, what like plaid, camo, flannel. So that's it. I just got yeah. So I just got like materials from Goodwill and just like cut them up and tried to make new silhouettes. Those are all my friends that were modeling. It's like, it was just, so anyway. I did that for a couple seasons, and it was a fun thing to do after work, and it was just a hobby, and like I honestly had no, like, I'm gonna be a fashion designer. It was just something fun, and I did it for a few more seasons. This was collection in 2009, and about this time, I met someone who I worked with, Hal Craddock, who does development work in Lynchburg. He was like, my daughter's a fashion designer in New York City. You should go visit her when you're up in New York. And so I did. So it was cool to finally meet someone who works in the fashion industry for real. And I would just like go up every few months, visit some college friends, like source some stuff in the garment district and show her what I was working on. And when I showed her this season, she's like, this is cool. I'll tell you a little bit about this season. It was inspired by kind of like maps. There's maps of Lynchburg printed on the garments. That one to the, it's like blue sleeves, that's like actually a paper dress of maps of Lynchburg that I got from work. So I was really inspired by maps. They let me, they were gonna throw it away. So it was digitized. So yeah, this is, it was inspired by scaffolding and maps, and this is kind of like the bones of what Chromat is now. This is the beginning of new Chromat. So anyway, my friend Virginia Craddock, she was like, I'm doing this pop-up shop in the Lower East Side just for holiday. It could be fun. Like, do you want to just bring some of your garments up and you put it in the pop-up shop? It wasn't like anything, like there was no contracts. It was just like, sure, I'll just send you some stuff. And so I did, and then, oh, wait, you can't see that yet. So, so yeah, that was kind of like a big break, but I didn't even know it at the time because it was so casual. And so we made a few pieces, I made a few pieces that were in the pop-up shop in the Lower East Side, and got attention from bloggers. People actually bought the pieces, and that was kind of cool. And so then the pop-up shop turned into a full retail, like full-time retail store in the Lower East Side called International Playground. And then a few months later, they started representing designers in wholesale, like a showroom. So I was still in Lynchburg working for City Hall, and I was starting to, they would be like, oh, we sold out of those like cage bras, can you send some more to the store? So I'd just go home after work and like sew them and send them up. And then it got to the point like a few months later where I was like, wait, who are these people buying this stuff? Like, I've never met anyone that would wear things like this. I really want to know, I'm curious. So I decided that I would quit my job and move to New York and just like maybe see this new fashion culture that I had no idea existed. And I figured I'd have to get an architecture job, keep doing architecture full time, and then just do this on the side. It would be something like to explore. And then, so I moved to New York. I had this tiny bedroom in Chinatown, and I just kept getting orders from International Playground, and then I got another store order from a place in LA. I don't even know how they heard of me. So I would like be sewing the order on my home sewing machine, shipping it to the stores, and then I'd be like, okay, as soon as this order's over, like as soon as you ship, you really have to send your resume out. Like, you're in New York now, you need a job. So I was like, okay, I really will send this out. And then I would get another order, and then I'd be like, as soon as this is done, just at least make a list of firms you want to apply to. And then like 3 months later, I still hadn't had time to do that. So I was like, oh, I guess this is my job. So that's really how Chromat began. It wasn't planned, and I really got lucky because I had a showroom since the start. International Playground began to represent me. So what that means is kind of like an actor having an agent. It's like they have meetings with buyers from different stores all over the world, and the buyers place the order through them, and then they just give it to me, and then I fill it. And that's kind of how it works. So this is my first studio in my bedroom in Brooklyn. It was really not glamorous whatsoever. I worked out in my bedroom for a couple years, and it was awkward when I hired my first intern. I hired him off Craigslist. I don't know, other people, I had designer friends, and they're like, yeah, you just place an ad on Craigslist and people apply. And I was like, this is weird. How can you ask someone to do this for free? It was so confusing. But I found my first intern. She came one day a week and helped me cut stuff. And then it got to the point where I had 2 interns in my bedroom. It would be you sit on the bed, I'll sit in the one chair. Then I bought a second chair. It was big. It was a major operation. So I was pulling these pictures up the other day, actually last night at 2 a.m. when I was driving down here. And it's so funny, my printer I would store under my bed unless I had to print an invoice, and then I would put it on the bed. So that's where Chromat began. Luckily, we kept getting orders and kept just having amazing things happen, and I was able to get a bigger studio space. I have 4 machines now. Actually, that's kind of old. I have more now. So yeah, it's been a really cool, it's been an honor that we are able to, the only way we are able to expand is through wholesale orders and retail through our web shop. So it's all funded through, since the beginning, we didn't have an investment. It was just if we have money from order, then we can reinvest it into the company. It's grown very organically and very measured. And now I have a real staff. That's me, International Playground, and then I have a head of production, senior designer, marketing director. All these people were just old interns, and then their 3 months or their semester was over, and I was like, wait, no, I can't do this without you. I'll pay you money. And so that's kind of how I've hired, and I've been lucky because it's all started. It's never been a big company where it's investment funding, boom, hiring a CEO, boom, this is my real company. It's always been okay, this intern is very valuable. They've done so much, and I can't lose them, so I have to make them a real job. It's been very organic like that with the growth, and we do so much now. I can't do it all myself, so I'm lucky to have such an amazing staff that has grown with the company. This is some of the lingerie we do now, kind of using that structural foundation and thoughts of scaffolding and then applying it to more wearable forms like lingerie. Here's some swim we've done. It's in stores now, chromat.co. So, oh wait, that's my top. Look, who wore it better? This is some of the stores we're in now, a lot of high fashion boutiques. It's been cool that some, boutiques, it's really great when boutiques take a chance on a new designer. So much of fashion is about Gucci or, I don't know, Ralph Lauren or whatever. And so it's an honor that we are able to work with these cool stores that have supported us from the beginning. And then we have a web shop. That's where some of the people who buy our stuff online are from. It's cool to see where the epicenters are, our top 5 cities. It's very city-based, metropolitan, urban woman type feel. Here is some of the cool press, and this is all just stylists and photographers somehow hearing about Chromat and emailing us and be like, can we borrow your stuff for a photo shoot? So that's been cool. Oh yeah, and then we started doing Fashion Week. And Fashion Week is really crazy. If you guys ever have a chance to come up to New York, you should definitely check it out. It's an adrenaline ride. Every 6 months, they have an event where it's a runway show, and that's how you kind of show your next collection to buyers and editors. And so we've been lucky to have gotten some amazing press. And yeah, anyway, I don't know. I guess that's cool. Okay, so let's talk about the future of fashion. Oh, my time's up. I'm sorry. Have I run over way a lot? I lost track. I'll just close with what we kind of see as the future of fashion and how I hope Chromat makes an impact in the fashion world. And one way is, of course, with diversity. I really feel strongly about showing different bodies, different races, different gender presentations on the runway. I really think diversity is something, it's a strong story, and I think for us, the Chromat woman is not just skinny white girls. Like, it's so much more. It's strong, powerful women in every field, and so it's been cool to work with amazing models that inspire us in that way as well. Another thing I feel about the future of fashion is I'm really interested in technology. I think it comes from architecture school here, where they were really pushing us to use new materials, synthetic materials, 3D printing. There's the LED bra. I think it's in the lobby. I have the battery charger, so maybe I'll charge it up after. LED bra that was working with accelerometers to move based on, like shines based on movement. And then this dress over here to the right is 3D printed. And one thing I really love about 3D printing is I kind of imagine a future of fashion as this place where there's no exclusivity, like where I see 3D printing changing fashion the way MP3s changed music. Now you can download anything you want, whenever you want. If you know the right sites to go to, you can do torrenting. And how cool would it be if you could just hack the new Givenchy collection before it hits the runway? I mean, you can download it to your computer, apply it to your body scan, customize it, print it out, and done. It's like, I love that accessibility. So I'm really interested in the future where everyone has the option to customize their clothing based on their body scans. And so there's a laser piece we did. We're really interested in using new technology and making the clothes work for you. In kind of the same way, in architecture school, we talked a lot about sustainability, passive housing, doors that open and close. I mean, all different kinds of architectural things that can respond to the environment and to the person. And I think fashion should do the same thing. I think fashion should work for you. I think if it wants to read, if you want it to read your EKGs, your heart rate, if you want it to tell you where you need to go if you're lost, like fashion and clothing should be able to work with you and improve and augment your experience. So that's where we're at. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for having me.